Bonjour mes amis, bienvenue à Alari Lifestyle. My name is Odemi Pasio and I am the CEO of Alari Lifestyle, a luxury online art gallery and fashion boutique where I sell my original art and fashion designs. Okay, so today's video is a bit cozy because I am going to talk about something quite personal. It's Sunday. I just got back from a really refreshing, much needed church service. I have not been to church, I'm gonna be real with y'all, since probably this time last year. It's December, like the Sunday before Christmas. And I don't know what it is, but I've been very convicted lately. I've been feeling very convicted lately that I need to find a spiritual community where I feel like it is pouring into me, it's feeding me. I don't have to like ignore my values to be a part of the community. And I realized I needed this because I was taking inventory of recent connections I've made this year. And I just felt like something was missing. Like there was just like, I don't know, just something like I needed to be able to go deeper. And for me, my faith is very important. And that's really the topic of today's video, how my art career, my entrepreneurial career has brought me closer to God. So if you're in a similar journey right now and you feel God's voice telling you it's time to start that business, honey, it's time to jump, it's time to take the leap of faith, then I hope that this video can minister to you. I hope that it can encourage you. I hope that my own personal anecdotes can give you something to say, okay, God did it for her. She had the faith and followed God's instructions in her life, and it seems to be going well. So let me try and do the same thing. And today's sermon actually was on hearing the voice of God and how to place God's voice at a superior level and to place the noise of the world. And what is the noise? All these trends that tell us who to be, all of these gimmicks that try to take our attention, like that's the world. And then some of those voices that are the antithesis of what God has called us to do are inside of us. It's the doubt, it's the self-doubt, it's the fear, it is the anxiety, it is the just negative self-talk, and it is that doomsday conditioning. And so I think that for me, my entrepreneurial journey, becoming an artist full-time, I had to literally look in the face of doubt and look in the face of all of this external conditioning that tells us, oh, you can't make money as an artist. You'll never be successful as an artist, or, oh, who does that? Nobody buys art anymore. AI can make art, even though AI art sucks. Like all of these different voices and all of these different sentiments, I had to literally ignore them. So I'm gonna give you a quick synopsis of how where I was when God told me, hey, it's time. And I'm also going to share with you a story from my childhood. But before I do that, if you are a returning viewer to this channel, help me out because I am trying to reach 500 subscribers. And it is a goal of mine. And I think I'm less than 50 subscribers away from 500. So that would mean a lot to me if you could take the time to subscribe to my channel so that you can be a part of this community where we are focused on raising our vibrations and infusing opulence into our lives in a sustainable, healthy, and spiritually uplifting way. So as a child, I was very artistic. Like I'm talking, I would do art competitions. I would represent my school, like my elementary school and my middle school. I see it right here. Like I literally have them hung up on my wall in my studio right now. My awards, like from being best in show and all that stuff. And so I remember as a child, I knew I wanted to be an artist. I was like, I want to be an artist. I want to be like Nikki Giovanni. I wanted to be a writer as well, you know? So I wanted to be like Maya Angelou. And I just felt like there was so much power in art, especially as Black people, as African people. Like I felt like the ways in which I was connected to where I come from. I knew my parents were immigrants, but I hadn't really spent time in Nigeria. So it was through art that I was able to stay connected to where I came from. So I knew that there was power in art and that there was power in literature. I also knew that I was really good at making things look pretty. I was always the person in the when we had team projects, I was the one who would present and kind of make the aesthetics, shine and all of that stuff. So I knew I had a gift in that. And I remember my mom, she told me that her friend had visited her when I was a very young child, I think maybe 3 or so. And she came with the pastor, and the pastor would sometimes receive like visions and prophecies from God. And so he told my mom, hey, this child of yours, she's gonna be in the arts, like not in a small way, like she's going to be very, very successful in the arts. And so my mom, when I was growing up and I was doing performing arts, visual arts, all of this stuff, she would tell me about that prophecy, and I'd be like, oh, okay, cool. That makes me feel good. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm not just making this up. Like maybe I am meant to do this. Like I just knew that I wanted to do that. But fast forward to being older, being 18, entering college, and just realizing, oh my gosh, maybe only people who are born rich are allowed to be artists, or maybe only Nepo babies get to do that. And like going to Brown and having all of these new experiences, it was very enlightening for me, but it also kind of psyched me out a bit, because I was like, okay, I'm taking this visa class, I'm doing this juried art show, I'm in a cappella, I'm doing all of these things that I know I'm naturally good at, and I see a select few people are able to make it a career. I don't know if I have those resources, those external things, the bank of mommy and daddy, the connections to be able to be successful in this. So I'm going to study what my parents have also said is the best thing to study. And that's how I did international political economy. It was something I was interested in, but it was not necessarily what I felt I was created to do. So when I had published Force of Nature, my first book, and that was 2021, when I published it and received a job offer in the same week, and it was a 6-figure fintech job, I immediately took the job because I was just like, I need money. And like there were voices around me saying, how are you gonna make money as an author? And honestly, I didn't know how to answer that question. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just do what's stable. And when I started facing ostracization in that role and just feeling like the very things that I know are gifts, the very elements of my personality and my being that I know God has given me to uplift others and to inspire others, when I felt like those were becoming points of like, I don't know, they just put a target on my back, I was like, I have to get out of here. But I was praying about it and I was like, okay, I don't know. Cause I was in New York and then I moved to California. And I remember just spending a lot of time by the beach. I was in Del Mar and just praying and like meditating, and it was such a solitary experience. But it was in that moment where I started really recognizing the voice of God, because I was living in a city. I didn't know anybody. Okay, I didn't know anybody. I was essentially in the wilderness. It made me think a lot about the stories in the Bible where God would isolate his people and speak to them. Even Jesus spent a long time in the mountains, okay? And the devil came and tried to tempt Jesus and tried to, tell Jesus, oh, really, that's what you believe? Well, how about this? And Jesus was like, nah, son, like, I know who my Father is. I know what God has told me, and I'm gonna hold on to that word. And so I kind of felt like that. I kind of felt like I was spending time in the mountains by the sea and just in nature, and really hearing the voice of God tell me, I have called you to do more. Like this is one piece of your story, honey, but you're gonna take what you've learned here and you're gonna do something bigger. And I was like, I don't know. That sounds kind of difficult. And it's like, I had the desire. And it's funny because I really do feel like God speaks to us through those desires that are aligned with his work. Now, we all have different desires, obviously, and some desires are not always as beneficial to us as they could be. But I knew that this desire was tied to a promise I had made God when he took me to the finish line with my book, and I started seeing success with it. I was like, God, you make this a success. Like if you can get me to the finish line with this, because at the time, publishing my book had been the hardest, had been the most difficult thing, the most difficult endeavor I had ever committed to. And it was one of my proudest and biggest accomplishments. And so I was like, God, if you can take me to the finish line with this. I'm going to dedicate my life to doing this. And growing up in a missionary church, I knew like I wanted to infuse and invoke that essence of what it means to be a missionary, of love and light and God's love. I wanted to be that. And I didn't see myself standing on a podium being a pastor per se. I just felt like I wanted to do that through my life naturally. I wanted to be a testimony so that when people would meet me, it would inspire them to see themselves how God sees them. And I'm kind of getting emotional. Oh my God, I don't want to get emotional, but like, okay. It's kind of making me tear up a little bit because I don't look like what I've been through. And I've been through a lot. Like been through a lot. I've been through a lot in this life. And I think when I chose to listen to God and say, you know what, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create the art. It has brought me to a place in my life where I feel literally limitless. I feel like because God had to strip away everything that the world said I needed. The world says, oh, you need that 6-figure job at that fancy fintech company. The world says you need to work at this specific company to be successful, or you need that degree to be successful. But God is a God of miracles. God is a God that says, hey, I'm your creator. And this is not even to like, tell you go and follow a certain doctrine or anything. But at the end of the day, I truly believe that we were all created with a unique purpose. And we were all placed on this earth with a special, unique gift that we're able to use to raise the vibration of this world. And for me, people always tell me your words, just being around you, talking to you, it is so healing. And I love that. Like, I love that because that's all I want to do. I want to heal people through my art. I want to heal people through my books because that's what healed me. Art saved my life. And I can talk about that at another time. But there were times in my life where I literally, much younger, was battling depression. I was battling self-harm. I was battling all of these things, these low vibrational spiritual attacks, if you really want to call it that. Like, that's what they were. They were attacks on me, and they were attacks on the light of God that exists within me. And I think that committing to my art career and committing to entrepreneurship in a world that tells me that no, you can't, I feel like it has been the greatest test of my faith. It has not been the most glamorous journey, but there have been times where I'm like, wow, God really did that. Like, it's the end of 2024. I came into this year saying, God, if you can just get me into a gallery, if you can just give me art shows, oh my God, that would be great. God gave me 4. I went to Nashville, Tennessee for the first time this year to see my art in a gallery. I was invited to be in shows with people who God just brought them into my life. And every single show I did this year, every single show, God was the one that presented the opportunity. Like, when I tell you, miraculous. I just really felt convicted today to come and share this testimony that if God has placed it on your heart to go all in on your gift, if art is your calling, if, even me designing my fashion line, that was something I knew deep down in my soul as a child. I remember I would watch That's So Raven. I was like, oh my God, I want to be a fashion designer too. I would grow up, going to seamstresses to get my native clothing done. I'm Nigerian, so if you're Nigerian, you know what I'm talking about. Like, you have to go and you get the material and you take it to a seamstress. And I just remember thinking like, oh my gosh, like, I want to do that. Like, I want to do that on a large scale. I want to have my line in Saks. I want to have my line in Bloomingdale's. Like, I just felt like I saw it so clearly. I saw the vision. And so God has given us vision for a reason. But I think what hinders our vision sometimes can be listening to the doubts of others and allowing the world to project fear onto us. And you cannot follow that if you know that you are committed to living a life well lived and a purpose driven life. It's like serving 2 masters. And that's what I remember journaling, like, God, I feel like I'm serving two masters. I feel like you're telling me lean into this thing, but I'm saying, oh, I need to do this. And you know what's so funny? God made that job so miserable. It literally took a turn. I came in, getting shout outs from the CEO, and eventually it just felt like, oh my gosh, this is so unbearable. Like, it doesn't matter how many accolades I'm tempted with. That's my ego. That's the ego talking. And so I really had to kind of just say, ego, you're doing a lot. You're sensitive to the projections of others. I'm going to lean on faith. And what is faith? Faith is belief in things unseen. It's walking down a path and trusting in the assurance of God's word and God's light and God's ability to lift you up when you can't walk. There have been so many times this year where I just was like, God, I don't know how I'm going to do this. I need your help. And like, I've cried, I've laughed, I've danced, I've slept. And all of it is just so beautiful at the end of the day, because I can look back at this year and say, wow, this is really a testimony. There's so much more to come. I hope that today's video can inspire you. I hope it can uplift you. Like I said, I just got back from church. I ain't been to church in a minute, okay? But I did feel very convicted, because it just really like reminded me of why I do this. Like, why I essentially threw everything away. I threw away my past self and stepped into the identity that I always saw myself as, because I think when we're kids, we're untethered to these heavy beliefs that the world pushes on us. We're just free. And like, I think when we're kids, that's really when we start to see like, oh, this is how God sees me. I can do anything. I can be anything. So I really would like to encourage you to return to that childlike essence of believing in yourself, and believing that if you can envision it, if you can see it up here, and if you can feel it in here, it's possible. It's already done. It's already done. Lean into that spiritual insight, that spiritual intelligence. That's what I've learned to do as an artist full time. I have to literally feel my way forward, because it's the wilderness. And I'm creating something, I'm creating beauty out of nothing. And that in itself has made me feel so deeply connected to the creator, because that's what creation is. That's what, the world came from nothing. We came from nothing. We were just a concept. And then we came out of our mother's womb, And so I pray that everyone who is watching this video in 2025, you can give birth to something that makes you feel connected to your higher purpose. And that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you're interested in purchasing any of my art, this piece right here is called Desire. Actually, that's so funny. I'm over here talking about desires, and I have an abstract piece. Actually, it's more like abstract expressionist. And it's called Desire, and I have a whole gallery of original artwork, fine art prints, original paintings. Everything is limited edition, as well as my new fashion line. And I'm so excited to share more of my art, more of my work with y'all in the coming year. But thank you so much for being a part of this community, and I will see y'all soon. Mwah. Bisous, bisous. Bye.